Welcome back to the Delivering More podcast. No. Platform. You say platform. Welcome back to the Delivering More platform. I'm your host, the fake Ben Alkire. We're excited today. We have a awesome guest, the real Ben Alkire. But before we get into that, thank you so much for your viewership. We appreciate you watching morning, afternoon, and evening. If you could hit the subscribe button, that would help us more than you would ever know. But with me today is the real Ben Alkire, and we're going to do a Meet the Team segment. So I will be your guest host here, the real Christian Hilton. What's up, Ben?
What's going on?
Welcome to your own show.
Yeah, this is, I've only sat on this side of the desk, I think, maybe for my other Meet the Team, which was like 2 years ago at this point in time.
It's been that long since you got to hit one.
Yeah, I checked the dates. It was released in 2022.
Nice.
So it's been a minute.
Who hosted then?
Jim and Tristan. They tag teamed it.
Okay, so I got to replace those two shoes. I'll blow it out of the
easy,
wire.
easy.
That should be light work. Okay, cool. Well, so I'm sure you got to tell your story in that episode, and you've probably told bits, pieces, or your whole story the other episodes that you've done, right? I know you've started doing you did like some Founders series with John and Aaron, and now some entrepreneurial stuff with John and Aaron where they're just kind of talking through what that's like, and I've heard bits and pieces of you sharing your own stuff on that. But real quick, just kick off this Meet the Team. How'd you hear about DeliverThat? What's the story just getting started at DeliverThat, and how long have you been at DT?
So I just, was it last week Dan announced it's my 6-year anniversary last 2 weeks, whatever it was. So backtrack it a little bit. Went to Ohio University with John and Aaron. Started as OU Delivery in about 2013 there. My involvement with the company at that point in time was I would basically text their drivers while they were on deliveries and see who was available to take me to the gym that day.
Okay.
I would basically
Did you have access to blast all the drivers at once?
Well, I hate bringing this up because I forget the gentleman's name and I wish I could remember who it was. I would text one specific kid every day.
Okay.
It'd be like 9, 10 a.m. I'd be like, yo, do you have any deliveries? He'd be like, yep. I'd be like, all right, swoop me up. He'd show up at my apartment, take me to Ping. I'd get a lift in, and then I'd walk back, get some food, whatever.
Were you paying him any cash, or he was just helping you out?
No, just being a great guy.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah. So that was during our time at Ohio University. I had no involvement other than just being friends with Aaron and John. They graduate in 2016, becomes campus delivery.
How'd you meet them?
So
did you know them? You knew them in high school?
Yeah. So we wind it back even further. Aaron and John and I all went to Jackson High School. Graduated in 2012. Aaron and John and myself weren't super close through high school. I've known John since we were 9 or 10 years old. His dad was my first youth league baseball coach.
So I lived at Blake's house for like a year and a half. When I'm moving out, I find a 9-year-old John Zeno
the baseball cards
on the refrigerator.
Yes,
That's when you met. When you met John.
Yeah, exactly. So I met him 9 or 10. Aaron, I don't even know that we really ever communicated through middle school. And then high school, obviously, everything kind of comes together. John and Aaron played baseball through high school. I played football, so obviously I had Jimmy and Darian who are still with DeliverThat. We were really good friends. And then once we got to OU, John, Aaron, and I became much, much closer.
Okay. So then they start this journey. When did you start doing things more formally for the company? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so I'd say you move forward past 2016 at Ohio University. You come to 2018. So I was back in Jackson Township, going to Kent State University, Start campus, a couple miles down the road here, taking some business classes, trying to finish up a degree that I did not ascertain at Ohio University
but you got your vernacular from the
great
university.
Vocabulary, not for my education. That's practice, folks. So was trying to take some business classes to just get a business degree, whatever, wipe the table with college. I wasn't super concerned with all of that at that point in time. I don't typically remember or recall how the conversation comes up, but they had an office across from Planet Fitness over here on Whipple.
Yep.
and I would go to the gym and kind of stop in and talk to everyone before or after the lift every day. And at some point in time, I think it was just communicated that they had deliveries in Canton. I needed some cash, some spending money on the side. So I didn't sign up to be a driver at the time. They were just like, hey, do you want to take deliveries? We were using On Fleet at the time for logistics. I took my first ride along was with his older brother Dave at Baja Fresh Kitchen. Next to Danny Boy's over there. Baja's no longer a thing, but it was over right next to the Hall of Fame bridge. And then I was just taking deliveries from January to October of 2018. They had moved in then to the Geeson House office, the Black Mold office, if we want to skip that for a little bit. But and I think at that point in time they were expanding a little bit. You were with the team then at that point in like July of that year, June or July. So we were kind of expanding the employment opportunities.
I remember you coming on, and I'm like, oh, the Jackson Boys Club expands. Nice. I'm still the outsider. Yeah. I was out in Phoenix, so I just see new names pop in, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I think too, that's super funny to bring up, because I think too, for a lot of people who've came and went or are still with the company, I think that's what the attitude was with it very early, because you had John and Aaron who went to Jackson, Jimmy and Darian went to Jackson, Blake at the time, Sam at the time. Congratulations on the wedding. Sam was just this past weekend. Happy newlyweds. So it was 6, 7, 8, 9 of us all graduated together.
And you guys were all together. So the only people who weren't like Jackson born and raised were us outsiders.
Right.
So it was
who
like,
weren't in the office.
Yeah, it was like me, Sandro, Daryl, and whoever the guy was in DC. I think Anthony or something. And it was like us 4 on the outside.
And then you had like Daryl in Indianapolis.
Yes, yeah. And then it was like you guys at HQ. So we're all just reporting back. And I'm just out in the desert, just a different time zone than everyone else on the team. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm never going to make it here. There's no way. This is a Jackson Boys Club. But I thought the concept was cool enough. We could do it. So
yeah, I feel like it was probably a little intimidating at first. And I'm very happy that we got kind of out of that niche.
100%.
And obviously you have to expand, to bring new people in, get, much better educated, formally, understanding of like how you run.
They ascertained their degrees.
Yeah, they deserve the positions they're in now, as opposed to just kind of hiring friends to fill spots at the time. So I think, at this point in time, the people here, it's 92% outside of Jackson. There's only 4 or 5 of us left who went to Jackson. Yep. Brittany went to your wife, and baby mother obviously went to Jackson as well. So 5 or 6 of us left. But I think, and then so John at some point asked me to come on in October that year to help out with logistics. I was sitting at a folding table with a little Mac laptop watching, I don't know, at the time, 6 or 7 markets, like
6 or 7 orders each.
Yeah, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, St. Louis, Indianapolis are like the 6 that come right off the top of the head. That
because you didn't have to worry about Phoenix.
Yeah,
you knew I had it
Phoenix,
handled.
Obviously, we had a guy out there who was taking the orders if we didn't have a driver. So
don't worry about it.
Didn't have to worry about that. At the time, I don't know, it's 200, 500 deliveries, whatever the number was. So it was super small. But yeah, I in the same frame of reference of what you said, that you had belief in the idea. I think I needed something at that point in time to build myself up in my own career path. And I saw this as an opportunity that I understood the vision. I had seen it built up at school. I knew the people who were the foundation of the business were obviously very intelligent, very forward-thinking individuals. And I was all in from the jump. I think obviously nowadays with the way the job market is, I think, people go places for a year, they leave, get a higher salary, and you're moved on and upward. I think I always joined DeliverThat with the intention that I would be here for the better part of till retirement, basically.
So I have some stuff written down that's like completely outside of DeliverThat, but I do think it's a unique perspective for someone to be at a startup from a very early phase and then see it get to the point that I guess we're at right now and have been for, we'll call it 2.5 years. For you, what was it that made you like hold on? Because like at first it's like, cool, I'm working with these guys, right? But I know there were stretches where both of us weren't making nearly the money that we should for the effort put in, right?
For
you
sure.
go through that phase, and I've heard Aaron and John talk about it. when you guys are doing like the founder series where they're like, there is no work-life balance. And I know both of us went through that with this company and on this journey. What was it that got you to stick around? And then maybe highlight a point where you were like, this is it, I'm done. Because there's no way in the last 7 years, we'll call it, you've never had a moment where you're like, F this, I'm out. So like, what kept you around, and maybe describe one of the moments where you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I think fortunately or unfortunately, there's many of those moments.
Yeah.
To be very honest about it, I think. So we'll start there. Moments that I was ready to just
pack it up.
Yeah, pack it up, go home, never talk to friends I've had for decades now ever again. So there was a point in time where Darian and I, President and CEO, lived together.
Yep.
That was 2019, and then into COVID. I was still a part of the dispatch side of things that day in logistics. I was kind of like the management position of that department. And there's a reason I'm not part of that department anymore, I guess, to put it very bluntly. I would get very aggravated. I wasn't the most polite on the phones. Charles Hornbeck, Terry Hillebrand, people out there.
Sorry.
Yeah, people who have been with the platform for 5-6 years, I was probably always very polite to you guys because you were on time doing your jobs. People who showed up a little late, I might have called you very quickly.
Didn't show up at all and called you later.
Yeah, with a very rude demeanor. And I do apologize for that. I thank you if you're still with the platform. But I think at that point in time, I've never personally felt like I was the best manager of people. I'm certainly not a people person myself. I've never pretended to be or even really wanted to be. But they're just very difficult conversations. I've been demoted. I've been promoted. I've had my pay deducted, decreased. I've had my pay increased and moved upward. So there's been all sides of this spectrum of this work-life space. So I think there was one time specifically where I came home from work one day, and it was kind of always – it wasn't always like this, but there were weeks, spans of time where I would come home, Darren would come home, and it was like a little walking on eggshells kind of thing, like, hey, are we talking today? Are we eating dinner tonight together?
Can I go to my kitchen comfortably? Yeah.
Right, like kind of this weird vibe sort of thing. And I think he came home one day or I came home one day, and he basically was telling me I was getting put on a PIP, whatever the performance improvement plan. Yeah. I was basically getting demoted, decrease in pay, put on a PIP. I don't remember necessarily what the reasoning were, but that's where there's very difficult decisions where there's friendship and business that are intertwined because we live together. He knows what I'm making. He knows whether we're scrounging around to afford this apartment, whether we're affording it easily. Anyone knows you never want to take a pay decrease, period, point blank. But I think those conversations are so difficult to have with individuals you've been friends with for such a long point in time. So, I mean, I was tears in my eyes, like, how do I make sure this doesn't happen? How do we move forward? Are you and I still good? Like, I don't want to leave this company. I don't have a college degree. I wasn't sure at the time that I'd be able to attain another job if I wasn't with this company anymore. I wasn't very certain in what my own characteristics of being able to move forward were. So I think that was a very difficult time for me. And that was a couple ugly months. And that ends up pretty much leading to probably why I'm in the position that I am now today.
Yeah. What, so part two of that though, like what do you feel like got you to hold on? Like even before like the PIP or any moment where you're like, I'm out of here, what do you think made you believe in it enough to be like, I'm going to put myself into this? Because just for context, like Ben and I worked on the operations side, and he ran the entire dispatching department, right? Customer service, logistics, all of the things for a very long time. And then I was kind of in this director of ops, like driver experience / working hand in hand with Ben. And you didn't miss a day for like 480 days straight. You were here for 8 to 10 hours a day. We would be at a bar and half the company's there, and you have a Chromebook or a laptop in front of you, and you're still getting after it. So at some point, like something went off where you're like, I'm all in on this and we're going to figure it out. And then our next topic will be you transition dramatically your career to what you're doing now. So like, what was it that made you believe that strongly, like this will work? I can handcuff myself or attach myself to this.
Yeah, I think off the top, when you say all those things about like how often I've been here and not missing a day, I think that's something I've always fallen back on, is like you could always count on me to be the person to show up. And I took my first week-long vacation, no work period, earlier this year in February. So 6 years at the company, it was the first time I'd ever taken a week off.
Out. Yep.
And that was great. Need another one soon. But I never really had like a specific moment that was like assuring me that I wanted to stick around. I think for me, it's always been a very succinct and clear fundamental belief that I know this company is doing great things for the gig economy. I know this company is doing great things for the gig economy. I know it's doing right by the drivers. I know it's doing right by the restaurant partners. And I understand that the values behind this company are also in line with myself. Yep. So there was never like this massive moment where like I came into work today and I was like, that was so reinvigorating. Like, I can't wait to be here for the rest of my career. This place is amazing. I think it was just, I always went into it with this belief that I would be here for life. And until they kick me out, I don't plan on really going anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like for me, joining around the same time, it was like step one was like I believed in the idea, and I was like, oh, we're only doing this in 5 cities. What's stopping us from doing it in every state, right? Like, is there something I'm missing? Is there like this huge legal hurdle, insurance costs? Like, what would stop us? Because this works. All of us are taking tons of deliveries. So I'm like, we're always going to treat the drivers right. Like, we get what it's – and I'm out in the desert sweating, dying, and I'm like, yeah, of course we're going to treat the drivers right. So a lot of that piece that you just said resonated with me, seeing the impact we're making on the gig economy. But I was like, the idea works. We can make money doing catering deliveries if we do it well. And then it toggled to like, okay, now things start to get really hard, right? Like, we're traveling, we're trying to launch markets. And I think my like second milestone, so it was like, yep, the idea works and we should expand this. My second check mark, and that's why I've watched some of the Founder series, was like Aaron's just raw grit and determination. I was like, we can't lose. He's on my team. It's like going to war with Shaquille O'Neal on your basketball team. You're like, he's going to dunk on everybody.
He's going to go for 30 and 10.
Yeah, we're going to do this thing. So it was like, once those 2 check marks happened, then it was like everything, like, it's all a blur. And then 5 years goes by and you're like, okay, wow, it's like successful. We have momentum.
We got to that point.
And now you're just attached to it. So I've always wondered what it was for you. Because, same thing for me. Like, even if you just pull up the map now and you look at all the drivers, it's like, wow, that's a huge impact. And sometimes my guilty pleasure is looking at our most active drivers to see how much money they made in like the week or the month. And I'm like, whoa, I should move to LA or I should move to Boston. Like, they're making so much money. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff resonates with me. So obviously we talked a little bit about, we were both on the ops team. Then you pivot and you're now in this content role that you're in right now, thriving in it. So there was obviously some like determination to power through, right? I think you've talked and told this story on this podcast a couple times. You and Tristan have a little like green screen over there, and you're in a little
in Diana's office.
Yeah, a little dungy office in the back of the DT headquarters here. So you've made that pivot. What do you feel like is next steps, right? Because I assume most people watching this will know, like, hey, Ben's the podcast guy. This is the fake Ben. That's the real Ben, not playing host today. What's the future that you see maybe, or like what can you share about just the delivering more as a platform, right? Because you've described some of that to me, but your role in that and then what you see for the platform as like the future.
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer, to be very honest with you. I think I still day to day for the most part and kind of still searching for a lot of those answers. And whether that be, because I think the thing at the time is when I was first introduced to this department, it was basically out of another moment with this company where I was sick of doing the same thing every day. It was so monotonous. I was sick of dealing with late drivers, sick of dealing with restaurants pissed off at me all day for something I didn't do.
After so many days, it's like the same thing every day. You can tell the same story.
And it basically just got to a point where I was desperate to do anything. And similarly, what we're talking about, I wasn't desperate to find a new job. I was desperate to do anything to stay with this company.
Carve it out here, yeah.
And I think I asked Darian, asked Aaron, asked Sean at the time, like, where can I fit in? How do I find my seat on the bus? Just tell me where it is. I will do it. And at the time, Jim was our marketing guy, graphic design, website, everything.
LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, just Jim. They said, well, Jim's like a one-man show. He needs some help. I'm like, all right, I'll help Jim. I don't know what that means, but I'll help Jim. So basically what happens is Jim starts not formally, but like showing me the ropes on Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects. And that kind of leads to the position I'm in now, where I basically become the creator of the content we're doing in-house and externally for DeliverThat. And moving forward, I think for then about a year and a half, 2 years, it was still basically a one-man show. I was booking all the shows. I was filming everything, recording it, editing it, publishing it. It was just me. Now we have Lindsay, who's the director of our marketing team, Nate, who's kind of running our socials, me on the back end producing everything still, and then Jim kind of handling e-commerce and filling in with some graphic design stuff when he is needed. So we've developed out a team now where I think there's a little more bandwidth to experiment and try new things, which is a little more refreshing than it used to be, when it felt like I just had to like bury my head down and just get shit done. Moving forward, I think what people have probably seen a lot over this past 6 months towards the end of the year is we're focusing on a lot more short form creative. So the would you take this delivery stuff, the live delivery stuff. I think we're doing a lot of gig economy focused stuff. Like I'm talking about deliveries where guys are on mopeds dropping off food. Yep. There's like a Uber Eats driver on a horse dropping off food.
I love the one where it's a video and you just like your head pops up. Yeah. And what was the one? It was like going across the water.
Yeah,
that was like one of my favorite
I said
ones.
Moped, but that's what I was jet ski kind of thing. Ski. That's what I was thinking of when I said moped. So I think that's a big form in where we're trying to move to. And then also we were at a point in time where there's kind of this battle in content and marketing where there's this discussion around how to produce it. And once podcasts became so lucrative for high-end podcasts, and it was such an easy production value, the basic understanding I think of marketers was we can take this hour-long, 2-hour long-form video and create all our short-form content and publish it omni-channel on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. What we've kind of seen on our own end, and that's what we did, right? For the last year and a half, 2 years, we basically have taken our Meet the Teams, our driver spotlights, our podcasts, whatever we're doing long form, we've chopped it up, we produce it as shorts, we put it on our Instagram, we put it on our Facebook, whatever. What we've kind of come to the clear conclusion as is that's not necessarily the best for those channels, because one, that's leading people to leave the platform they're watching that clip on, which those platforms hate. Instagram doesn't want you to leave Instagram.
Sure.
TikTok doesn't want you to leave TikTok. Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. They want you to spend as much time as those platforms as possible. So when you're posting things like, hey, here's a 30-second clip, click a link to go to YouTube, like you're not seeing that
Facebook's
post.
Like destroyed.
Yeah. Do not show that to them ever again. So we've come to kind of a conclusion where
wow, I've never thought about that.
We now need to create content specifically for those platforms.
Yeah.
So we kind of almost went like a complete 180 where we were like, hey, let's create content that we know can be posted everywhere and fills the days, basically, is kind of what we were trying to do. To now we're in a space where we have the bandwidth to say, hey, let's take out a day, film 4 things specifically for Instagram, 3 or 4 things restaurant and business focused for LinkedIn, and then go from there, because we want people to stay on those platforms like those platforms want them to do, but we also want to produce content that makes sense for those users on those channels. So Instagram, we primarily think of as a driver-facing platform. LinkedIn, we primarily think of as a restaurant-facing platform. Facebook is more driver in our terms of things. Twitter's kind of been like a black hole for us. We're not very active on it. Sure. And TikTok, we haven't been active on like a year or 2, but I think we're going to get started back up on again maybe at the beginning of next year.
Wow, I had never thought about like as soon as you try to
navigate that was a lot.
As soon as you try to navigate them away, they bury it in the algorithm, right. And like why would they want to show their users that content? That makes so much sense. And I like you guys making content specific to those. My lack of marketing understanding, I'm like, oh, just film an intro for each one that's like, shout out to YouTube for being the best the best platform. Wow, shout out to LinkedIn. I love the video content here on LinkedIn. Okay, that's cool. I admire like you, Tristan, Holly, people who have started here on the ground level, learned the business, and then taken that to other departments, right? Like so much of what our marketing team knows about our business to produce content and to be aligned with our business, because you guys also do a lot of our driver education content.
Right.
How we're educating gig economy drivers is like the secret sauce, right? Like, how do you hold people to a standard on our platform that they're not held to on Uber or on DoorDash, right? So I love you and Nate did that. Start on the ops team, end up on the marketing team. Holly's done that. She did dispatching and driving, and now driver experience department. And then Tristan took it to our engineers, right? So
which
it's
is
like
crazy.
Every segment of the business has somebody that on a fundamental level has taken a ton of deliveries, and they also understand the business like from the front lines. You know, like you and Tristan were our dispatch crew for a long time.
On this side of the office.
Insane. Right here in a little circle with our Chromebooks. But for you guys to be the backbone of our operation for so long, and now he's doing engineering and you're doing our content, that makes our business powerful, right? Like if we don't have that homegrown talent, to me, we lose a lot of like what makes our company special, that every department has that.
Yeah, I've always felt the same way too. And I think we kind of tried to, like when we used to do the hybrid hiring where we wanted to make everyone
teach them both.
Yeah, be involved in every department. I think that's what the vision always was.
Yep.
I think that becomes a little more difficult as you try to get people specialized once they move out of that field. But I'm in the same frame of reference and frame of mind. I think having people that have understood the business, been a driver. I mean, I drove for 8 months, took hundreds of deliveries in that time. I was taking 2, 3, 4 deliveries a day, going from up to Alliance, back down to Canton, down to Navarre, out to Worcester. I mean, going to Pittsburgh to take some Moe's deliveries. Like we've been all over the place. So I think when you have an understanding full-fledged of the business and how it runs operationally, it makes your vision easier for how you're going to produce content and then produce technology like we are now.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have a hard transition. Are you ready?
Yeah, hard.
Cool. So we're going to hop into this or that.
Hell yeah.
And then we're going to get into completely
I've never done the this or that.
non-deliver that questions. You didn't do it in your other Meet the Team?
No, I don't think we did this or that yet when I was back then.
All right, well, here we go. I'm going to run through this list you got for me, and we kick off with, are you an early morning or a late night guy?
Late nights, fall asleep with the TV on.
Asleep with the TV on.
Yeah, fan running TV on.
Love that. My kids are like that. I'm like that too. Dog or cat? I know where we're going.
Yeah, this one's fairly easy. I'm certainly a dog guy. I have a dog that will be 5 years old in December 13th. She's an Alaskan Malamute. Her name is Skylar. She's the world to me. And
Sky rocks.
She's an amazing dog. I've always been a dog person. Here's a little weird tangent if we want to go down this road. So,
I got a Sky story.
Were you born in 1994?
6.
Oh, yeah, you're a couple years younger than us. I always forget that. 1994, Year of the Dog.
No way.
Yeah, the Chinese Year of the Dog. So, like, I've always had this weird belief that I'm, like, a dog guy. Like, I'm the dog whisperer.
You're just born like that.
And, like, I've always been so good with dogs. Like, dogs always love me. Like, every shape, every size, every breed love me. And I always just get along with dogs. And I think I'm not a very communicative person at times, as you would know.
Sure.
And there's no vocal necessity with a dog other than like maybe when you need them to listen to you some sort of assertively. So I think like this like just understanding between myself and the dogs, like people always say like dogs know like good vibes versus bad vibes. They know I'm a good vibes guy.
Sure. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Do you think that's more of the 1994? Like, are you superstitious about like that's the year of the dog? Or do you think because you knew that and you've internalized this, I'm a dog whisperer your whole life, that you've just like brought it to fruition yourself? Which side of that station do you sit on?
I'm all for the manifestation sort of lifestyle. So I don't disagree that because I had that belief from a young age, it's now manifested in my relationship with dogs in the canine family.
Well, I can attest. Big dog guy. Sky story. I don't know.
Don't tell this story. I know what story you're gonna tell.
Come on.
All right, fuck it.
All right, so I think it was a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And you were doing some work over here, and I'm the only other person in the office working over there. I go to leave. How much does your dog weigh?
She's about 85 pounds.
It's a fairly large dog. I go to leave. Well, your dog has had an accident on the floor in here on the carpet.
They were redoing our carpets at the time.
They were in the middle of redoing the carpets, and your dog had an accident over here. And I go to leave, and it was a large accident. And I was like, Ben, why'd you leave? And this is on the floor. Like, do you know anything about this? What happened? And he's just like, yep, my bad. I'll come back and get it. And I was like, dude, I already picked it up. Like, I can't leave the building with this massive accident sitting in our office. So that's one that'll always
the
stick
funnier
with me.
part about it is I think you texted me and someone else.
Oh, I text like you and Darian because I was like, who would have their dog in the office?
Who does anyone know what's going on?
I sent you guys a picture of it too.
I'll say I owned up to it. I thought about not owning up to it, but I did own up to it. And then you said, when I said it was, I think it was Sky, you responded thank God, because I thought I was about to have to give these contractors the business.
Yes, we had people in here doing carpeting over the weekend. Yeah, that's my Sky story. I remember texting you guys who would bring their dog? I think it was you, Darian, and Jim. I was like, who's owning up to this? All right, books or movies? This or that?
I'm certainly a movies guy. I was a reader growing up when you had that book fair and stuff. That was always exciting as a child, going and getting some books and the Harry Potters and stuff growing up. There was a book series called Shoeless Joe and Me, where they had some and then there's you remember the books Magic Tree House?
Oh yeah.
Those were big for me. That's my reading days though, elementary school. Once I hit middle school, the foundation for reading basically dissipated. Big movie guy, movies all day.
Just favorite movie or maybe a top 5 movie that comes to mind when I say favorite movie? You can only say one title. What?
I'll give you a caveat to it then. The Ocean's 11 series.
I love it.
The Ocean's series, we'll call it that.
You know what I'll say is I don't know if I've seen any of those.
Oh my God.
I love that you pivoted into a series, but I don't know if I've seen a single
They're so
one.
good. 11,
Wow.
12, and 13.
Wow. Okay.
So good.
I always frame it
Brad Pitt, Bernie Mac.
Oh, okay.
George Clooney.
Yep, never seen it. I've never seen this.
Oh,
I didn't know Brad
it's so
Pitt
good.
and Bernie Mac were in anything together. Okay. All right. Ocean's 11. I'm going to have to check that out. Do you like to cook or would you prefer to eat out?
That's an interesting one. You'd think I've asked these questions so many times that I'd have developed my own answers.
Yeah.
Let's go about it this way. Monday to Friday, I'm cooking at home. Monday to Friday, I ate a steak, Caesar salad, some raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. Monday to Friday, almost guaranteed. Friday afternoon through Sunday, it's a free-for-all.
Okay.
We're going to get some pizza and wings.
I think that's a good way to live, though.
We're going to get some Taco Bell.
That's the balance. You're a Taco Bell guy.
Oh, boy.
Through and through.
Do we want to have a whole episode about
through.
Taco Bell? Because we could.
Holy smokes. Okay. Drive or passenger? I've taken you on a road trip recently. You were a good passenger.
So you say that, but if you would ask my family or maybe Darian or Jim, I'm notorious for falling asleep immediately on car rides.
You were asleep a little bit.
I'm almost pretty certain my parents would probably confirm this. As a child, I think it's something to do when your kid, you want them to fall asleep or they've fallen asleep is you drive them in the car and you don't stop the car kind of thing.
That's my hack. Yep.
My parents for sure did that when I was a baby and a child, because if I know a car ride is going to be longer than an hour, I'm out in 15 minutes. I'm so fast asleep so quickly. So for those reasons, I would rather drive. I also get weird, even if I'm in a car with you, we've driven a million times. Jim, driven a million times. I get anxious if I'm not driving.
Give me the wheel.
Yeah, I'm you could stop 100 feet before a car and I'll still be
Yep.
Is he gonna stop? Is he gonna stop? I get so anxious as a passenger if I am awake and lucid. I would prefer driver.
Lean on the drive side. Maybe that's why you go to sleep. You're I don't even want.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with this. Yeah,
I don't want to be stressed. All right, are you a call or a text guy?
Call, 100%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I would prefer the quick action of a call, get it done, get it over with. I also just get very bored through texting. This is also, I'll put it this way too. In terms of a friendship between us, guy group, I'll text all day, all night. In terms of a relationship, I'm not a big texter. I don't want to have like elongated conversations through text. We're going back from like you're at work, I'm at work, we're texting all day. Like let's just talk when we get home.
Sure.
If you need something, give me a call.
Sure.
Call.
I feel like that evolves for people over time. Where like when you're younger, you'd rather just kind of put things in writing and like text back and forth. You feel like there's pressure on a phone call. And then as you get older, you're like, I don't have time to sit here and check my
Let's
phone
just get
for
it
a
over
text
with.
update.
Yeah.
Give me a call. Favorite cocktail?
This is an interesting one.
It's not a this or that. Just tell me your favorite cocktail.
Yeah. I don't know that I've revealed this publicly, but I've been sober now for 10 and a half months. Well, 10 full months.
Piggyback off that, and I genuinely don't know the answer to the question I'm going to ask. Do you plan on drinking next year? Was this like a 1-year commitment thing? Or are you planning to just never drink again and it's just going to be part of your lifestyle? Because that'll help me with the question of like, is there a cocktail you're craving January 1st?
So towards the end of last year, I think it was around October, November last year. So for everyone unaware out there, I turned 30 in April of this year. So in the incumbents of that date coming, I got in this mindset where I really wanted to like become a better version of myself going into this like new decade of life.
Sure.
One of those things was going to the gym. So I started going to the gym 4 to 6 times a week. I've done that almost 100% since October of last year. And then towards the end of the year, I kind of had this overwhelming feeling that like drinking, smoking is just kind of just not necessarily I have the ability to control it. It's not like an alcoholism or addiction thing, but it's just like I couldn't go out on a Friday night and wake up and go to the gym on a Saturday.
Sure.
That's kind of where it started. Like if you wake up hungover, you don't want to go to the gym, you miss a day.
Yeah.
So it was almost like the elimination of those factors to make sure I was able to complete those other rule sets that I was trying to abide by that really influenced the decision. So Jan 1 of 2024, stop drinking, stop smoking. It's now November, so that's 10 full months, I guess. My initial goal, to answer your question, was to just to go 1 year. I think we'll elongate that time period for now.
Okay. Favorite cocktail before you realized you're going to come into your 30s as a strong man?
This is a tough one because I have like phases. I think like all people do.
Yeah.
In college,
maybe your favorite fall cocktail.
I'm not a fall cocktail guy.
Right.
I'm not a pumpkin spice guy. But in like the college days, big Jameson and ginger guy.
Okay. I don't think I've ever had a Jameson and ginger.
They're fairly good.
Like a ginger soda?
Yeah, like a ginger beer
or
something like that. The past couple years is like a vodka lemonade, something easy, something smooth, Tito's and lemonade. Love a good espresso martini.
Yes.
Couple beans in top there.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Espresso martini. You nailed it. All right. Well, you said you're not a fall pumpkin spice guy for the cocktails. Do you have favorite fall meals that you're looking forward to? Thanksgiving's right around the corner. I assume this will probably release around that time period. Favorite fall meals?
Chili, easily the fall meal that comes out the top of the head.
Do you make a good chili?
I've never made my own chili.
Ever?
When Darian and I lived together, he was always making that venison chili.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Other thing that pops in the top of mind, a good pot roast.
Sure.
I made one a couple weeks ago. Very good. You got some potatoes, some carrots, what have you in there. That's kind of the top two that I feel like really I correlate with fall. Do you have any others?
No, I'm more on the cocktail side where I'm like, I want cinnamon and apple cider.
Like a Christmas ale with the cinnamon rim.
I love apple cider mixed with anything cinnamon. I'll do it all the time. So, no, I wouldn't say for fall meals, I more lean towards desserts over meals. Like,
okay.
I love a pumpkin roll with like cheesecake filling. Like
my family
that's very
loves
good
those.
Too. Yeah, they're just to die for. And well, my family carries them at the cheese shop.
Oh,
so they're just like
everywhere
in house all the time. All right, 2 things that you and I typically talk about, just as we wrap up here, some personal ones. We talk a lot about the stock market.
Yes.
We both follow the same people on Twitter. I won't say we blindly follow their advice, but like
We're sheeps to slaughter sometimes.
Yeah. So this guy we follow on Twitter could probably lead us in any direction, and we would just believe him. But what are your top stocks here right now? We just finished an election. Everything's going crazy. What's Ben got going?
I have some breaking news for you.
Oh God, here we go.
Guess what we're officially a part of?
What?
The Long Investor Patreon.
You got in. You're all in. You're all in. All right. So now you're my source of news. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think right now I've been trading heavily on Hims, the male supplement company, I guess we'll call it.
I've never looked into it. He tweets about it all the time. It's like hair growth.
Hair growth. What do you call it? Like male volatility. What's the word for that, Hercom? You guys know what I'm talking about. We don't gotta talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah, baldness, a big portion. And then Alibaba. You and I have been dabbling in here for a long point in time.
We were big on Kava for quite a while.
Kava, obviously been a mainstay in the portfolio. I'm really hoping to amp up my portfolio so I have enough cash value to get into Tesla and Amazon when they hit a pullback. Okay. That's one of my main goals right now. What do you got up there?
We talked about a nice ETF here.
What do you got?
VOO.
That's okay. That's like a spy. That's like a SPY ETF.
Trails the S&P.
Yeah, the S&P. Yeah.
It's probably doing great.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been all back in on the stock game.
You're about a 92% return over 5 years.
Sure.
Great.
Sign me up.
We both have began to dabble in a little Ethereum as of late. I'm back in on the BTC train. We're hopefully riding that to 100K by the end of the year. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I like you said, we've been blindly following this gentleman. I'll shout him out. Long Investor on X.
Incredible.
$37 a month for his Patreon. He posts 15 charts a day. His buys, his sells. I'm all in. Lead me to battle, sir. I'll follow you blindly.
Salute. I love that. Okay, another thing that I think maybe it was my Meet the Team. I don't know when we had like a longer form conversation about this, but any house updates, and if you want to recap why you were destined for this house, I thought that was a really cool story. I feel like it came up maybe on mine.
Yeah,
but
I
like
did.
You were destined for this home. I've now been there once, so I can at least picture and follow you there. But you were destined for the house. Any house updates? How's home ownership going?
Yeah, so we'll start with the destiny factor of it. So as we've kind of alluded to, we have some not spiritual, but what did you call it when we were talking about the 1994 dog stuff?
Like superstition
stuff. Some spiritual, superstitious stuff kind of floating around here. So back when I was viewing homes in the fall of 2023, I was looking at every house that came up on the market. Hit up Carol, you love her, I love her. Remax, shout it out.
Remax, Long Investor. We need sponsorships.
Love them. Any house that came up on the market in my price range, I went and saw it. I was doing that for 2 months. Every house in Canton, Jackson Township, Uniontown, Green, downtown Canton, saw them all. Eventually, I come to this house. I go view it with Carol. It's right on the edge of Maslin in Jackson Township, a couple miles down the road from my parents. Very nice, super open living room floor concept. Loved it. It was very well kept together, very well built.
Very close to me.
Very close to Christian's now new home. Very close to Jim, right around the corner from Jim. And just all in all, and Hercom now, who's moved to the township. All in all, in the very same vicinity that it wouldn't change anything about my life, which was beneficial. Had great vibes about the place. Bring my mother. Now we come into the superstition factor of things. Bring my mother to view this house with me. I didn't notice this at first. I'm not really a details guy, as you will come to know if you ever know me. We pull up to the house. First thing my mom notices, massive A on the chimney. Our last name is Alkire. So my mom's like, oh, my God.
It works.
Oh, my God. Okay, that's one. Walk in the home, and we're kind of, we were viewing the house, and my mom the whole time is like, I think I've been in this house before. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, we never come down to Maslin. What are you talking about? I think I've been in this house before. Long story short, my mom pieces together this puzzle. We know the people that built the house. They are the cousins to her sister's husband. So I don't know if that actually makes any relation to me. Their last name was the Alstroms. They built these two units together. They were a pair of doctors that were best friends. They built the units side by side. Their last name was Alstrom's. Our last name is Alkire, hence A on the chimney. Also, a brick in the chimney. Back to the dog, the year of the dog. Brick in the chimney, 1994, my birth year.
No way.
Another superstitious little thing for you. And then the final piece of the caveat, my dad's mother, a very Christian woman, great woman. When you walk in the front of my home, there's one of those little like fish icons, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
I don't know what it's called either.
To me, it's like the
John the
Fish of
Fisherman
Life
story kind of is, I think, what it alludes to or something like that ways. But that was on the door as well. The first time my Nana saw that, she was like,
she's sold.
She saw it and she literally looks at me. She's holding my hand. She goes, "Don't ever take that down." And I was like, I won't. So
how could I?
That's not why I bought the house, but it was helpful in why it was purchased.
You were on the path, and then that bought everyone in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, once you become a homeowner, as you know, things break.
All the time.
I was in the home for, let's call it 3 months. Garage door breaks.
Is it up? Is it back?
It's back.
Last time we talked, it had been broken for like months, and you were just like, "Yeah, we just don't use it."
So it's like going to like the dentist or the doctor. Like, I'm so fearful that I'll show up or have someone come out and they'll be like,
"You idiot."
Like, no,
this is worse than you thought.
Yes. Okay, this is so much worse than you thought it was.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear is like, I'm going to be like, oh, it's going to be like $300, $400. They show up. They're like, new garage door, new motor, $4,000, $20,000 in the tank. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And well, you and I don't know enough to be like, you're lying.
Right. I have no frame of reference to call them out on anything.
Yeah.
So garage door is fixed. I had a flooring estimator come out a couple of days ago. Not happy with the estimate.
Yeah.
Very high. So I'm gonna have
This is new carpet, or are you trying to do wood?
I think I'm gonna get some laminate of some sort.
Okay.
Some high-end laminate. Because obviously the carpet, it's pink, folks. It's tough. It's very nice carpet, but not great to look at. So that'll get replaced. That's my next project. Have the flooring in by the end of winter.
Okay. Last thing. All right, let's end on this.
Yeah.
You're a football guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge football guy, so
you're not riding for those Buckeyes anymore?
I love the Buckeyes. But when you have 2 under 2 at home, you kind of like that is your life, right? If you have a job that's even remotely demanding, that's your whole life. And if you want to be a good father, you could just decide to be a bad father. But that's kind of my life right now. But Super Bowl predictions. Let's do champions in college football.
Oh, wow.
And who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, boy. Hold on. They just put out their first.
And you're like a Browns fan, right?
Yeah, for sure. Over the past couple of years, I've become more and more of a Browns fan.
Get it on record.
CFP playoff prediction. They just put out their first bracket.
You're Googling your prediction?
No. I'm Googling what the
matchups
bracket they just released yesterday says, what teams are going to be in it.
I love to just like blindly say that Ohio State's going to win, but
they have a shot.
I was in Columbus when they played Nebraska, and I thought they were going to lose. It was horrifying to watch, actually. It really was disheartening to me.
Okay. So right now we have, after the first CFP playoff power rankings, we have Oregon at the 1 with a bye, BYU at 4 with a bye, Miami at 2 with a bye, Georgia at 3 with a bye. That's because they're all the conference champions. Conference champions get a bye.
Okay.
So that's the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and the Big 10. Then we got Indiana, Texas, Ohio State, Boise State, Penn State, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Alabama. I am a lifelong Notre Dame and West Virginia fan due to family allegiances. You're an Ohio State Buckeye guy. I don't love Notre Dame's chances right now. It has them playing Alabama week 1. Last time they played Alabama in a playoff game, they got annihilated. I think it was like 49-10. It was Notre Dame's biggest hopes in years, and it was over from the jump. I think Penn State could beat Tennessee. I think Ohio State easily beats Boise State. I think Texas probably beats Indiana. So that puts Oregon, Texas, BYU, Ohio State. I think if this is the layout for what happens, I think Ohio State has an easy route to the semifinal. You would have Boise State, then BYU. You guys dog walk both those teams, and then you have a rematch with Oregon in the semifinal. Ohio State lost that game. Oregon didn't win that game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they played a very bad first half, turned the ball over, mismanaged some clock.
The end, yeah.
I think Ohio State wins that game if you run it back. And then I think you probably end up playing.
Is there a world where Ohio State and Notre Dame just play in the championship?
There is, yes. They're on opposite ends of the bracket, so
this is
they
going to
could.
be the coolest thing ever.
They could.
This is gonna be great.
I think it's Georgia, though. I think it's an Ohio State-Georgia rematch of the semifinal. I think that was a year or two ago. Fuck it.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Yeah,
Ohio
let's
State.
go.
Ohio State 42, Georgia 35.
I think we start racking up the big game day heads that they use to throw
Lee
on.
Corso,
yeah,
throw on
dude.
some
If we
heads.
just had a Brutus around here for
Hell
you
yeah.
to throw on right now, that'd be sweet.
Hell yeah.
All right.
And then NFL Super Bowl. I have a clear favorite in the NFL right now. The Detroit Lions are an absolute wagon.
Yeah.
They're so good. I absolutely love Dan Campbell.
It's just I want to run through a wall.
Yeah,
for that guy.
unbelievable. Amon-Ra St. Brown took me to playoff fantasy glory last year. I lost in the semifinal game, but he was so good, so I'm forever faithful to him. David Montgomery's on my team now. Scores a touchdown every single game. So good. I think they
would
make
love
the
to see
championship
I would
game.
love to see the Lions win the Super Bowl.
And then in the AFC side, it's tough to go against the Chiefs. Chiefs are still undefeated after that overtime win versus the Bucks.
Plus the refs.
Yeah, plus the refs, plus the field, plus Taylor Swift.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's so much.
You can't bet against all of it.
Who else is in the running for the AFC right now? We have the Bills are always up there. The Ravens. I will go with that. I think Lamar is having
lost to the Browns.
Yeah, but they're so good, and the Browns, they're not good. I don't know how they won that game. I think Lamar's having a better season than he did last year during his MVP season. I think he finally gets back to the big game, maybe for the first time. I don't know if he's ever been to the Super Bowl. Lions, Ravens. Lions win it.
I like the Lions pick. It was hard watching. The only Ravens game that I've watched in total was when they played the Browns. There were just so many dropped passes.
Yes.
I don't know if their receiving core is
and their
actually
defense
bad,
dropped so many picks.
but like 20-plus yard passes right in the hands where I'm like ignorantly like I would have caught that kind of passes where I was disappointed. But that's the only Ravens game I've watched. So, yeah, I would love if the Lions brought it up here to the Northeast.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah. Go Detroit. 4 hours, 5 hours away. Love them.
Okay.
Yeah, Eastern Michigan up near Ypsilanti, right
Yeah,
outside
True.
Detroit.
There's some connections there.
Yeah.
Does where's Wiley play right now?
He's on the Washington Commanders, having a great year.
Yeah.
I think they're 7-1, 7-2.
Potential there.
He's had a revival of his career in Washington.
That's
for real.
awesome.
It's been amazing.
That's really cool. All right. Well, this was my first time hosting a Meet the Team.
You did a great job.
Your second time being on a Meet the Team. So
Great time.
Thanks for tapping me in to play host. Thanks for being on the journey with me. This is not at all our first time meeting. Ben's fantastic. It's been a fun ride with you. It was fun hearing your perspective on early days, why we stuck around. And, yeah, we'll both keep doing home ownership projects and try not to call anyone unless we have to.
Yeah, I think, too, I feel this way every time after you and I communicate in this format. We did the DT Days a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We've done some of the food challenges. We're now doing a Meet the Team.
When I asked you about the future of content, I wanted you to just be like me and Chill on the road, food challenges. They're so fun.
I love that. I think it's just a me and you dynamic thing in general.
I think it
I think
works.
we work well together.
I think it works.
We play off each other very well. I think this might be the future.
Let's do it. All right. I'm a future content contributor here at DeliverThat. As always, thank you for joining us morning,
Thank you so
afternoon,
much.
and evening. Hit that subscribe button
If you
on your
stuck
way
around
out.
this long, you are amazing.
Yeah, you're a real one.
We'll see you soon, folks.
See you guys.